There are some countries that, although possessing rich history and culture, have relatively lagged in economic development. These countries face high unemployment rates, low per capita GDP, and severe poverty issues. This article will take you through the 10 least developed countries in Europe, along with the challenges and difficulties they face in the modern economy. Are you ready to explore the current situation of these countries? Tenth place, Bulgaria. In 1989, Bulgaria had a population of nearly 9 million. Today, it has shrunk to less than 7 million. It is expected to drop to less than 5.5 million by 2050, and it may have by the end of this century. Why are economists so pessimistic about Bulgaria? Bulgaria is among the European Union countries with the highest poverty rates, with a poverty rate exceeding 23%. Extreme poverty affects nearly 10% of the population. The 2008 financial crisis severely hit Bulgaria, causing a rapid economic downturn. In 2009, the economy contracted by 5.5%. Although the economy has recovered, growth has been weak. In 2011, GDP growth was only 1.7%. Bulgaria's average annual wage is among the lowest in the EU, with a per capita GDP of only $14,893, far below the European average. High unemployment is also a major challenge, with the unemployment rate still at 5.6% in 2023. Youth unemployment exceeds 20%. Anti-poverty measures have been ineffective, with policy reach covering less than half. Bulgaria's future outlook is bleak. Unless major policy reforms are implemented, it will be difficult to change the current situation. Economists are pessimistic about Bulgaria's population projections, and this is the reason why. Ninth place, Russia. Despite having the world's largest natural gas reserves and abundant oil, forestry, and freshwater resources, Russia's per capita GDP is only $14,403, far below that of the United States and Norway. In 2022, about 12.1% of Russians were living below the poverty line, with over 17 million people unable to meet basic living needs, especially in the Far East, where infrastructure is underdeveloped. Winters are harsh, heating costs are high, and medical services are scarce. The living standards in Moscow and St. Petersburg stand in stark contrast to the remote regions. In Moscow, household income is more than double the national average, but in remote areas, it is only 50%. This wealth gap is not only reflected in income, but also in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The abundance of oil and natural gas has made the Russian economy dependent on global commodity price fluctuations. Eighth place, Montenegro. This beautiful small country on the Balkan Peninsula attracts tourists with its stunning coastline and ancient castles. However, Montenegro's economic situation is not optimistic. In 2020, GDP contracted by 3.2%. In 2021, it rebounded strongly, growing by 7.4%. But the war in Ukraine disrupted the recovery process. Montenegro's GDP is now about $7 billion, with a per capita GDP of only $11,189. The official unemployment rate is around 20%, and many residents rely on informal work and seasonal tourism to make a living. During off-seasons, when tourism declines, many families struggle. The poverty problem is even more severe in remote mountainous areas, where infrastructure is poor and living conditions are harsh. Education resources are scarce, and many children have to walk for hours to attend school, sometimes even crossing dangerous mountain roads. It is difficult to break the vicious cycle of the economy 7th place, Serbia. In 2022, the population was about 6.647 million. It is projected to decline to 5.79 million by 2050, making it one of the countries with the fastest population decline in the world. The brain drain of highly educated workers is severe, with economic issues being a key factor. Despite GDP growth, per capita GDP is only $10,849, far below Poland's $17,000. 24% of the population lives below the poverty line, and rural areas rely on subsistence agriculture. Infrastructure on the outskirts of cities is poor. Long-term economic transition and political turmoil, along with high unemployment and low wage levels, make it difficult for many people to maintain a decent standard of living. During the disintegration of Yugoslavia, Serbia and Montenegro once formed a union, facing challenges together. 6th place, Bosnia and Herzegovina. This multi-ethnic country experienced a devastating civil war from 1992 to 1995, which displaced nearly 1 million people. Even though the war ended years ago, about 115,000 people are still homeless. Bosnia and Herzegovina's per capita GDP is only $8,123, with a poverty rate as high as 18.56%. Rural areas rely on outdated agricultural technology and earn meager incomes. Education and healthcare resources are scarce. The Tuzla region is heavily polluted. Winter heating is difficult. A large number of young people migrate due to a lack of employment opportunities, leading to a loss of labor force and innovation capacity. Ranked 5th, Belarus. Despite its rich resources, Belarus's per capita GDP is only $7,944. Total GDP is $7.74 billion. By comparison, Monaco's GDP is $7.5 billion, but Belarus's population is 250 times that of Monaco. In 2023, the average salary in Belarus is only $480, while the cost of living is rising. The price of a cup of coffee has risen to $3.50. Long-term political instability and international sanctions severely restrict economic growth. The political crisis of 2020 led to economic decline and large-scale protests. International sanctions further exacerbated the predicament. Many families live in old apartments, lacking modern facilities. Housing renovations progress slowly. Ranked 4th, North Macedonia. Once the glorious Macedonian Empire. But the current economic situation in North Macedonia is very different. Per capita GDP is only $7,384. High unemployment rate. 21.8% of the population lives below the poverty line. Youth unemployment is significantly rising. Urban-rural disparities are evident. Government debt is high. Fiscal space is limited, despite efforts to attract foreign investment and promote economic reforms. The results are limited. What's puzzling is the government, during economic difficulties, still spent $65 million to construct grand buildings. Ranked 3rd, Albania. In 2019, an earthquake severely hit Albania. Hundreds of thousands of people were left homeless. Reconstruction work is still incomplete. Per capita GDP is only $7,058. High unemployment rate. Youth unemployment rate reached 27% in 2023. Many people choose to work abroad. About 1.4 million Albanians live and work abroad, nearly half of the total population. Despite economic difficulties, Albanians still keen on buying second-hand Mercedes-Benz cars. History and terrain have limited economic development. The 1997 financial crisis made matters worse. Ranked 2nd, Moldova. Historically, it has been divided and annexed multiple times. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the economy plummeted. Per capita GDP is only $6,340. far below neighboring Romania's $18,000. About 30% of the population lives below the poverty line. Despite the poverty, Moldova's wine is renowned for its excellent quality, accounting for 45% of export revenue. Economic difficulties lead to low-quality public services. Many families rely on remittances from overseas workers to make ends meet, reflecting the instability of the economic structure and the reliance on external assistance. Ranked first, Ukraine. In 2023, Ukraine's post-war recovery cost reached for $111 billion, twice the size of the 2022 economy. Ukraine was once a major grain producer. In 2013, the GDP reached $181 billion, but political instability and corruption problems were severe. During the 2014 Crimea crisis and the Eastern conflict, the GDP plummeted to $130 billion. Industrial output in the eastern regions fell by 70%. The war destroyed infrastructure and exacerbated the debt crisis. Ukraine relies on international aid. Now, the per capita GDP is only $4,654, with a poverty rate of about 25%. Many Ukrainian women, in the context of war, are making a living through the special services industry. Economic pressure is immense. Families are struggling to choose between basic living needs and daily expenses. Difficult choices. That's all for today's video. I wonder, which of these 10 most underdeveloped countries in Europe left the deepest impression on you? Feel free to tell us in the comments section below. Let me know if you need any more help.